Hey guys, welcome back to Brian's Train Room. Above me, I've got a Lionel U-Drive boat. I'm working on an episode. It should be pretty fantastic. It's a lot going on, but that's coming your way soon. Today, I'm going to talk about a portion of that I realized that I had while I was putting all this together. And it has to do with one of the most important things throughout collecting when it comes to Lionel trains. What is that, you say? It's the instruction sheet. A little piece of paper that came with almost everything Lionel made that pretty much told you how to take care of it, how it worked, and if something broke, what do you do with it? Well, the U-Drive boat right above me has an instruction sheet. And I happen to have everything you need from start to finish for the production of this instruction sheet right here. What do I mean by that? Well, that's coming up on Brian's Train Room.
The word for a Lionel electric train, because you're in charge. Yep, on the Lionel line, you're the boss. Lionel Trains will make this Christmas one to be remembered, always.
All right, guys, I got a lot to show you. When I was trying to figure out what's the best way to show you guys how the instruction sheets were made, decided to sort of break this up into two episodes. The first episode is going to be the one that I have the most sort of complete materials from start to finish for the production of the instruction sheets from 1964 and 65 for the Lionel U-Drive boat. Again, how these instruction sheets are made is not specific to any particular item. I just have everything that relates to this specific instruction sheet, and that's what we're going to show you. But I have other materials, and so part 2 or episode 2 is essentially sort of bonus material where I may not have all the parts, but I have some of the pieces of some of the paper products or so that were made for also the boat, but again, sort of relate to how these were made, okay? Everything from the original artwork to all the way down to the printing plates. So this is going to be really a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to dive into how an instruction sheet such as this is made. And so the first step here is I'm also going to sort of illustrate that there's actually two instruction sheets in front of me in terms of years. This is 1964 and this is 1965. Why is that important? Well, every piece that Lionel made had instruction sheets, okay? And even if it was available for multiple years, there was always changes in different years associated with it, okay? And there's subtle differences sometimes between the two. I'm going to highlight these because these are the things you're going to be kind of looking for as we go through the process, knowing that, hey, the process for this one was repeated almost 100% to create the next instruction sheet for the following year. So that's how much energy or sort of manpower got put into just creating a simple instruction sheet. So the first is, again, this is 1964. This is 1965, and it shows some of the changes that occurred during that time. Everything from, where screws were placed here and here to how the battery was set up. All those things were a little different, and which things they wanted to highlight. And then you'll notice on page 2, between the two, they show some similar things. How the steering wheel was put on, how the steering wheel was put on. But then there's subtle differences between the two there. They changed the way the fin was put on and what it looked like. And they had a new picture drawn up to what it looks like here. So you have differences between the two, as well as, hey, how to care for the boat. Notice how this doesn't have the same type of diagram on how to clear water from the boat. And then as you go in the second part of it, for 64, it talks about the waterways. And in 65, it talks a little bit more about the outriggers and things that you would have associated with it. And then as you come to the final page, these look very similar, but you've got, for the instruction sheets, all right, you've got two different dates. This is always important for the instruction sheets. This is instruction sheet 850-120 of 5 of 64. And then this is instruction sheet 850-178, produced 3 of 65. So this shows all the differences associated with just two instruction sheets for the years the boat was available. These are the things we're going to be focusing on, is some of the stuff they did for this one, stuff they did for this one, and again, how they ultimately ended up with a final product. Okay, so this is a splattering of some of the original artwork associated with the catalog, okay? All right, so you notice how the catalog has these pictures. These pictures didn't exist, and there wasn't anything to pull from before you start constructing your catalog. So you say, hey, how am I going to get all these diagrams into a piece of paper that we're going to send out with the product? Well, the first is you have to create the artwork, and that's what we have represented here. So let's start off with a few of the pieces, okay? The first piece we're going to show you is the actual boat, okay? So this is the original artwork. This is hand-drawn, okay, original artwork. And if you notice how this matches up very nicely with this particular picture, okay? But you notice how it's so much bigger. We'll talk about that in just a second. But this is the original boat artwork for the instruction sheet. The next piece of artwork we're going to show you is for the battery compartment and how the batteries are set up, okay? All right, and sure enough, this matches up nicely. Okay, they've added some wording and stuff, but this is basically the artwork associated with this. Is all hand-drawn. As we turn the page, you can see that, hey, I've got some of this artwork associated with how the steering wheel gets put on, okay? And this is the original artwork associated for that. You can see how these match up beautifully. And then they have to show you how to put the steering wheel on and attach it, okay? That's these two pieces right here. You can see all, and again, all this is hand drawn to match up. And then we have how the fin attaches. So we'll find the artwork for that. And that's right here. Again, all of this is hand drawn to match up the idea of what the plan for the instruction sheet would be. And then you have to say, hey, how do you keep from getting water in the wrong places? So this is a hand drawn, this right here. See how this matches up? And then you had the track or the waterways and how they were put together. And you had to sort of, hey, how can we use all of these and make these for the front and the rear of the instruction sheet? So let's see here. We have a few of the examples. Here is a hand-drawn. And again, all this is hand-drawn to represent each of the sections needed to create this particular there's some tricky steering to be done on this U-Drive waterway using this right here. And then as you turn the page, you've got more complicated. This is a king-size triangular course. And here's the hand-drawn course to match up there. And then you've got sort of a dog bone. And again, all this hand-drawn. This is the original artwork that goes into the few illustrated parts of your instruction sheet. Okay, so this is the, original artwork. And the next steps here are we're going to create a sort of a negative image that we can start resizing. So the first step here is showing sort of how they were able to create a negative image that's resized down to more of the size they're going to be able to utilize in the instruction sheet, okay? So here's one of the instruction sheets. And again, this is closer in size to where it's going to go. So they're kind of starting to bring it back down into a range that's going to fit on the catalog the way that, or the instruction sheet the way we want it. This piece right here represents that as well as the fin. And you can kind of notice that here's the artwork for the fin. This is the 64 version. This is the 65 version. Again, these had to be updated or changed as the actual item changed as well. And they were very specific to make sure they got that. So this shows these pieces here. The next is the battery. So here's the original artwork again for the battery. And then from that original artwork, it created a one-to-one as a reverse or negative image. And then they were able to bring it back down to a size or closer to a size. And there's one more step after that I'll show you in just a second that relates to a few of these. You'll see these again, but on the next phase. So some of these are on items or areas where they want it. And so that's kind of where we are, okay? All right, now the next pictures that I'm going to show you are, again, here's the steering wheel, and you see how it's gotten down to the black and white. And then again, they would resize this. This is for the 64 version, but the same thing. They resized it down and then brought it back down to a more usable size. And then same thing with how you attach the steering wheel. Again, you can see how you go from original artwork now to something you can manipulate and use, and then size it down as need be. Okay, there. And then of course you've got how you clear your boat out. You create a one-to-one, and then you can size it down into something that would be more manageable or continue to size it down as need be. Okay, so you say, well, what do they do from there? And this doesn't quite look right because it's black and white. Well, once they know where we're going to go, the next step is getting it down to a point. And the best ones to use this are the track because there's extra sections. Again, you'll see some of those other pictures again in just a minute. So the first one is, say, this little guy right here. And again, the black and white resizing is started here. Okay, and now we have to bring this back down. And so then what they do is they're able to make another white copy that's going to go on this. Now what you do with this too, and we'll show you in a little bit too, is they would trim this and then attach it to the board. Okay, and you'll see this in just a little bit too, but you had to get down to this to create an image that you can cut, paste, and put places. Okay, this is the process of getting to that. All right, the next one that I'll show you will be this little guy here. Again, we sized it down, and it got sized down to something that they can use that'll actually fit on the instruction sheet. So you can see this right here, you can see this right here, and you'll notice how this matches up with the size that eventually will be used in the actual instruction sheet. And I'll show you how in just a second with the pieces of paper just like this. It's absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, you go from the original artwork here for the dog bone. Gets a little bigger. And again, all of these are made into sheets like this that have some of these so they can start getting pieces that they can utilize in the sizes that they want. And you notice how then they would create the little dog bone shape. And of course, this dog bone shape here will match up very nicely in terms of the size that's used on the actual instruction sheet. Again, absolutely fantastic. This is step number 2 in creating your instruction sheet. Hey guys, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. We got a little bit more coming your way, and this has been a lot of fun putting this together, trying to sort it all out. This is really cool. It's a great opportunity to ask hey, if you like what I'm doing, please give me that little like thing. I'd certainly appreciate that. Also, if you like Postwar Lionel Trains or just trains in general, hey, why don't you subscribe? Check out some of the other content. Some pretty cool stuff. Again, rest of the video coming your way. Okay, so now we've gone from our original artwork and got ourselves sized down. What happened next? Okay, well, the next is there was a creation of a storyboard, essentially, or a one-to-one sort of hard copy or prototype, however you want to call it, of the instruction sheet. Okay, so these sections were taken, the artwork was put off to the side, filed away to maybe never be seen again, okay, except on Brian's training room. And then, so we take this, and it's going to create, and you get it cut and trimmed out, and then you create what's called essentially the storyboard or the one-to-one copy, as you can see. I'm going to show more close-up detail of all this when it's all said and done, okay? All right, and this is the essentially front and rear covers of the instruction sheet. And why are you seeing it like this on the board? Doesn't seem to make sense. Well, again, this is going to get copied and ready for print, and that's how it's going to print exactly on the paper. All right, so here's your instruction sheet, but if you were to open it up, this is what you're getting. So basically this all matches up with your instruction sheet and how it's printed, okay? I'll show you the other side in just a second, okay? All right, so again, we've gone, as you can see from our original artwork, down to something that we can cut and paste and put right here. Okay, and I'm going to show you close-ups, but basically I've got a cutout section of our picture, and then we have some printing, which is basically just typed and then put on pieces of paper. I'll show you in detail. This one happens to be loose because they're normally glued on, but basically this is just a piece of paper that has all the writing on it. I'll show that to you in a little bit too. Again, we have our battery compartment here, and then again we have a cutout of our little track section here, which matches up perfectly, our little triangle, and then of course all the information associated with it has been printed and put on the page. Then you got to have the little insignia, the Lionel Toy Corporation, printed in USA, all the way down to the instruction sheet number, which is 850-178-3 of 65. This is sort of the front and the rear of the instruction sheet, because this is a 2-page instruction sheet the way it's folded over. Okay, I'll show you some examples of some 1-page ones and how they would set those up in episode 2, the sort of that bonus material. But that's exactly how you would set these up. And of course, over time, how any of these survive, don't know, because again, the glue starts to get sort of dry and the pieces fall off. And again, I can't remake these. These are just how they came. It's absolutely fantastic. Let's show you page 2. This is again page 2, which on the other side would be the front and the rear cover. These are the 2 inside cover pages. So you've got again your instruction sheet here, and then as you open it up, voila, this is what we're looking at. So this is basically the inside page covers, okay? When these are printed, one side's printed on one page, one the other. So in the layout on a 2-page instruction sheet, this is how you would have to lay these out, okay? All right, so let's take a little peek and see where we've gone so far, okay? Remember, we started off with, say, with the instructions on the steering wheel. This is the original artwork. We sized it down, and then a little piece was cut out to the size that they needed that fits perfectly on the instruction sheet as a 1-to-1. Same thing with it's attached here. Again, here's the original artwork for the fin. The original artwork for how to clear water. And then one of the artwork or so for the waterways right here that you can see. All right, so again, you've got all these pieces here. Again, same thing, all the lettering and all that is glued. I'll show that to you. It's just really nice detail. I'll scan through these with you. Again, how some of these survive, don't know, because again, this is one of the pieces that, again, I'm missing one that would go right here. It's gone to time, but just absolutely fantastic that this is all together. Again, this is how every single instruction sheet Lionel made, and especially in the post-war years, this is part of the process. So the amount of time and energy went into every single instruction sheet, absolutely fantastic. So we're going to take a little closer look at the storyboard and how it's constructed. Okay, so first of all, it's kind of a thick piece of cardstock that it's on, just to give some rigidity to the board. It's sized 1-to-1 to how the instruction sheet's going to lay out. As I mentioned, we're looking at the front cover, and over here is the back cover of the instruction sheet. So first of all, everything's sort of placed on here. Nothing's really printed. It's either placed or it is drawn, okay? And the reason for that, so this has how to operate your Lionel U-Drive boat, and this is on a little piece of paper that's been cut and glued to the board, okay? This little square is drawn on, and then they took the picture, which was, remember, from original artwork all the way cut down and sized. They took our picture and utilized that here, and then have little pieces of paper that have battery compartment screws, control switch, steering wheel shaft, all that is all put in there and put in the right places. And these little arrows are actually also glued on. They're little strips of on here. So it's really fascinating, just the detail that went into just this one picture to be able to get the end result, which is all of this. Okay, so all this matches up beautifully to exactly the way it's supposed to go. Then there's another piece of paper here, and this one's loose, so I can sort of show you how basically that's what it would look like. But the piece of paper has Lionel You Drive Boat, is powered by an electric motor, operates on two special 854 batteries. All that stuff, all the information that's on here is put there. It says figure 1, Lionel You Drive Boat. That's right here. And again, all of this matches up exactly what was on the instruction sheet, because this is where this came from. The next, again, another piece of paper, and you can notice how these things over time have separated. So any of these surviving would be almost a miracle. So it talks about installing the batteries, highlighted information stuff, and then you get to a little bit further down. We'll get to that here. I'll scooch down here, get a little highlighting of the batteries. And then we get to the battery area. Okay, remember we talked about the artwork for that and how this was sized down, again, to create all this information. You got battery, but then it has blue wire, forward, stop, reverse, and all the arrows were kind of added in here to make sure that all this matched up to what you're seeing here. This says figure 2, installing and wiring the batteries. And then there's a little box here. Again, this is all unfortunately really loose, or just being super careful with it, but it's little boxes that say make these connections, the blue wire, the black wire, the white wire. It kind of gives instructions on exactly how to put it all together. And then again, same thing, this is also loose, and it says make sure that all the terminal nuts are tight, blah, 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 and gives you some information on how to do that. And again, this is that first page, or the cover page, of the instruction sheet, okay? All right, now as I slide it over, same thing happens here, showing you in detail the rear cover, all right, and it shows this sort of dog bone style, and says 2 children can have a great time on this dog bone. So they want you to buy 2 boats, which is absolutely fantastic. And it shows you how many sections you would need. You need 12 curves of the same type, okay, because they are all kind of the way that they work. And then 4 curves of the other type to have be able to reverse them, and at least 8 straight sections. That way you can make this bigger or longer as needed. Additional pairs of straight sections can make it as long as you wish, okay? Well, remember, these sections are $5 a piece, so either way, they want you to buy stuff. And then below here is the large triangle. So here is a king-size triangular course, so it just kind of goes around, says what's in it, and then they even have cut out the Lionel Toy Corporation, Hoffman Place, Hillside, New Jersey, printed in USA, and then right here, okay, in the little cutout little piece of paper says this is instruction sheet number 850-178 for 3 of 65. Absolutely fantastic. Again, this is front cover and the rear cover, okay? So as you open up the instruction sheet, then you have these 2 pieces. We're going to slide these over. Okay, so you have these 2. So it starts off the way that you would read it. You'd start off on this side. And then again, here's our cut down from the artwork here. It says shaft, the wheel, how to connect it. Everything's all here. This is figure 3, installing the steering wheel. It talks about it right up here. And again, all these are little pieces of paper glued to the heavy cardstock. This is our artwork for the fin. It says push tail fin into slot. Okay, this white out here was just a line that they had just misdrawn. They wanted to make this box a little longer. That's all that is. But you can make those types of changes. Again, all this is hand cut and pasted. Absolutely real. There's no computer thing. This is the old cut and paste. This is where this came from, where they were cutting it and pasting it to make this instruction sheet. Absolutely fantastic. And then it goes into operating the boat. They've kind of gone through and they made some changes to it. This is on paper, and there's actually a second paper glued over this where they made some modifications to the instructions. And then again, there was our artwork on clearing the water to clear it off. And then this is best not to leave the boat in the water overnight. Take the batteries out before you put storage. All these really notes about what's in there. All right, and then you go to, I guess, page 3 of where it was open. Again, this is this section here, okay, of the instruction sheet. And it has information on the Lionel warranty, the batteries you're supposed to buy, the outrigger set, how the waterways worked, and talked a little bit about that too. Again, some of these have been lost to time. So I've got this one here. I've got this one here, but I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's a little area that's a little lighter color where there used to be some writing here that talked a little bit about this one right here. It unfortunately has been lost to time. Absolutely fantastic. These are the 2 storyboards. We'll pull back a little bit for you. These are the 2 storyboards that make the instruction sheet that you see here. Absolutely fantastic. So again, we're back to our sort of the storyboard. It's on thick cardboard and it has all the pieces individually cut with the wording and everything exactly the way that they wanted it. This is the front cover and the rear cover of the instruction sheet. Okay, now what? What do we do next? How do you get this now to a point where you can now print it on paper? Well, you know, you've got printing plates, right? But you've got to make the printing plates. How are those made? Well, you take this, which is 1-to-1, and we're going to make basically essentially a negative photograph of this image. And what does that look like? Okay. Visualize this. And then now we have this right here. Okay. This is, okay, they would take a picture and a picture of it, create a negative, okay? And again, we're back to creating a negative. You can see this with the white showing through, okay? This is all the print that was here. And now we've got ourselves a film that has a negative, and then it's tweaked and made sure that no other light comes through, because everything, any areas where the light comes through, where it's clear, is going to show up as a reverse color in black, okay? So you have a blacked out, and then all the white will eventually be something that shows. And we're going to go, so these were made to create the plates, which we'll show in just a little bit too. But here's the other copy. So here's the rear cover. Again, this is 850-178, 3 of 65. This is the negative that was produced off of this storyboard. Okay, these are all matched pairs of the materials used to create this instruction sheet. Okay, well, what about the interior pages? Well, here's those interior pages as shown before. Okay. And these are the, I'm going to move these over so carefully here. Trying not to mess things up. But here are the reverse or the negatives based on this storyboard, okay? Now you may notice that the way they have these loaded is sort of backwards, but it really isn't, okay? And the reason for that is now that you have this, okay, and this is looking at it like you and I can read this, installing the steering wheel and the fin, all the other pieces and parts, okay? I'm going to flip this over, and the way that it's designed is to give you a reverse image. We'll talk about this in just a minute, but this is set up now to be ready for creating the drums or the sheets that are going to be attached to the printing press to create the instruction sheet, okay? And again, there's a very specific reason that this page, not the other one, but this page is set up to give you the reverse image. I'll show you that here in just a few minutes, but this is the next step in the creation of your instruction sheet. So these are the sort of negative images that were created from the initial sort of layout of the storyboard, okay? All right, and this is number 1 of 2 of 850-178 instruction sheet, okay? Which is this instruction sheet right here. And again, if you were to fold it out, this is how it matches up. So this is what's going to be printed when this side of the instruction sheet. Now, how do you get it from here to here? There's one more piece in between, and that is going to be right here, which is the aluminum. These are the actual printing plates, okay? And these are created from these negatives when they're actually photo etched onto the printing plates, okay? Which creates just a very, very ever so slight little ledge, which will transfer to our thing. And so the way this works, this one actually shows it in sort of the orientation that you would look at it directly on here. And there's a specific printing technique associated with looking from here and then how that gets transferred to the piece of paper. This is again, the front cover and the rear cover of the instruction sheet. Now, the next you have is the interior pages, okay? Now the interior of the pages, okay, all right, if you were to say, hey, these are directly from the storyboard, and this is actually the back of the sort of setup. And there's a reason that this is like this, okay? I'm looking at this correctly. It says Lionel warranty, how to operate the boat. But what we're going to do is we actually want to create a mirror image, which means basically just flipping this over. Okay, now, what does this relate to? Well, this relates to the instruction sheet inside pages, okay? But it's a reverse or a mirror image. It's not upside down. It's actually a reverse or mirror image. Almost as if I was to take this instruction sheet, put it right on here, get an imprint, and when I peeled it up, I would have right here, you'd be able to see what that would print. Okay, and there's a reason for that, and I'll show you in just a little bit. It basically relates to how they can print both sides of the instruction sheet at the same time. And I'll kind of show you a little bit of a diagram of kind of how that process went. So then let's take a look at the aluminum printing plate associated with that. So after that, you would then photo etch onto these aluminum printing plates. This is what you would see. And again, it's a reverse image. If you look closely, you have to read it backwards. It says installing the steering wheel and the fin. Okay, that's what this section says right here, which again, this would match up perfectly if you were to take your piece of paper that was blank, push it up against here, and print it, and you peeled it back. Again, this would be what you would get, and that's why they did this. All right, so these are the two aluminum printing plates for an instruction sheet. Remember, we started off with the original artwork, and then we sort of photocopied and sort of sized it down to something we could put onto a storyboard. The storyboard, or the sort of makeup board, went to a negative, and then the negative photo etched to the actual printing plates used for this specific instruction sheet. Instruction sheet number 850-178 of 3 of 65. So the next step here is to show you, hey, how did they use these printing plates to ultimately create the instruction sheet, okay? So again, starting off, this is the instruction sheet plate that you can actually see, and this represents the front cover and the rear, and the reason for that is when they printed these, this represented one side of the paper as it went through the press. The other side, which was printed, at least the underside or the back part, the way that was printed was a slightly different technique, and so that required this particular printing plate to be sort of a reverse or a mirror image. And I'm going to show you a little bit of how this worked. And the whole thing is, well, why did they decide to do that? Well, the goal of doing this is it allows for the instruction sheet to be printed in one pass, front and the inside parts. In other words, if it was just a double-sided, where it's just one, this one and this one, they would still be printed at the same time. Or if it was one that folded out, they could be printed one at the same time, okay? All right, and that's the reason why they did this, okay? Now, this is how the best I could figure out that they did this, and it was a mixture of two printing techniques, okay? One is the offset printing, The other is a sort of a direct plate to paper printing technique. And this is kind of how it worked, okay? All right, so the first thing we take a look at, I'm going to sort of show you, is you've got your paper, okay? So here's your paper, okay? And it's moving in this direction. So it's coming through the press in this direction. So the next step is, hey, how do we get our printing plate and we get that imprinted to it, okay? Now, the reason that this is direct on here, but if you notice how if you take this piece of paper, it doesn't match up if I were to say, well, how would that print directly on the paper? Okay, so it's actually, this is the mirror image of what is going to ultimately find its way onto the instruction sheet, okay? All right, so this is the way that they worked it. The first is, here is right here, okay, I'm going to make this circle. This right here is the barrel, or this is the printing plate. Okay, the next piece they have, okay, so this is the plate right here, okay? The next piece they have is you have to ink it, and they actually used water. And this is, again, the offset. So this is the ink, and this is actually water, okay? And then the next is they had another barrel that went right through here, this barrel, and this is what's called a blanket. Okay, so you've got a blanket here. Now remember, the paper's going this way, which means this barrel's running in this direction, which means this barrel is running in this direction around it, okay? So your plate's spinning, and then what it's doing is it's actually taking your print and it's making a mirror image onto the blanket, and then it's making that secondary mirror image, which is the right side up, onto the paper, which on this top part would represent that first page and the rear page. Okay, so now normally what would happen is you would have what's called right below it, which is sort of a secondary drum, which is what's called the impression drum, okay? But in this particular instance, instead of an impression drum, this was actually the other plate. Now this plate directly contacted the paper. So it was just simply had a simple inking technique, okay? All right, and then it directly went to the paper. And that's the reason why you see the mirror image. So essentially there's a mirror image to what goes on the paper, a mirror image that goes onto the paper, but because you had to have this middle section between this plate and the paper, then you had to have this one where you can actually look at it directly onto the printing plate. This one's the mirror image. Okay, now you say, well, how come they just didn't use two printing plates together? These are very thin aluminum, and so getting the pressure and getting those adjusted just right would be nearly impossible. This blanket gives almost a little bit of cushion, which allows for, as the paper comes through, giving it a little bit of compression to put the ink on from both sides. That's why you get a plate to something a little cushiony, but you have to have a medium in between, and that's why you have the plates. And this is the reason they set both of these up, okay, which is really pretty fantastic. The best way to sort of describe all this or show it again is say, what do you mean by this sort of mirror image side of it? Well, it's very, very similar to if you've ever played with, I'm going to see if this even works. Okay, it's the first time trying this, all right? See if you've ever played with silly putty, okay? If you ever notice, you can take silly putty, okay, and if you press it against something that you've written, usually it's like a newspaper or something like that, and you pull it back, of course it didn't work. Hey, you know what? It is what it is. Let's try something else. Usually it's something, it's more old school, probably with newspapers, which of course I don't have. Let's see if it gives me any kind of imprint. But what you would normally get, if you played with this before in the past, it would actually say State Farm, but backwards. And then if you were to press it against the paper, it would say State Farm again. That's essentially what this blanket does. It's sort of the old school, what you call silly putty would do. It would take the ink, transfer a mirror image, and then transfer that mirror image onto the plate, okay? I know it's a little confusing. That's just the way they made these things too. It's absolutely fantastic. How they figured it all out, who knows? But it's really fantastic. I love the idea that I was able to show you guys as best I could. Everything from the original artwork all the way down to how the actual instruction sheet got printed and got into our hands for every Lionel item pretty much that they made. All right, that was fun. Appreciate you watching my video. If you like what you see, hey, give me a big thumbs up. If you want to see more, hey, please subscribe. We also have a comment section down below. I want to hear from you. Let me know how I'm doing and how I can make these better. You know, I don't do this alone. I do have a number of friends and fellow collectors who have shared their collections with me to make these fun videos for you guys too. At the end, I've got a nice list of those individuals who've helped me out. I cannot thank them enough. Well, that was it for today. Hey, thanks for joining me on Brian's Train Room.
Lionel Express, all aboard. Look at her streak along the rails. It's a Lionel.